Recapping the November 8th games, 2025, 8 games to get to. Starting off with the Dallas Mavericks. They escaped embarrassment and got their third win of the year. 111 to 105 over the Washington Wizards. Najee Marshall had 30 points, 31 minutes off in this one, season high for him. 9 of 14 from the field, 3 for 4 from three, 9 for 11 from the free throw line. Cooper Flag, only 12 points for him, 6 of 15. His offense, his half court offense, kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. He's still young, but probably safe to say Najee's the better half court scorer at this present time. Obviously, he at 27 is in the middle of his prime. Flag, obviously, nowhere close to his. Klay Thompson, for what it's worth, out with an illness, so he wasn't able to go. It's possibly why they also won this game rather than lost. But Daniel Gafford, um, he was able to go after being questionable. He left his previous game with injury. He played 18 minutes. Also, probably uh, a big reason why they won. Because if they didn't have him healthy, options kind of limited in the front court. Lively missed a seventh straight game. AD out for his fifth consecutive game. The Mavs are just trying to hang on. They are not a well-built offensive team. And just diving in a little bit on Cooper Flag again, 40% from the field, 29% from three. His one saving grace is that he's actually 25 of 26 from the free throw line, 96%, but he's not getting to the line enough. He was 6 of 15 from the field in this game, 0 for 0 from the free throw line. Um, so yeah, that just kind of, whereas Najee Marshall was 9 for 11 from the free throw line. So he's more of a transition player at this point, not really polished in the half court, and that kind of shows up. His layup, 15 of on layups this year per Basketball Reference, 15 of 35 from the field, which is only 43%. 13 of 43 from close range, 30%. 4 for 12 on middies, which is 33%, obviously, and then 10 for 35 on threes, 29%. So I gave him -5 layup, -10 close, -3 mid, -2 to his three, and then I also reduced his draw foul rating by an additional points, and his offensive consistency by 5 more points. So that essentially knocked him down 2 overall points to an 80 overall, which is where 2K also has him at in their roster. And then Klay Thompson, who I referenced as his absence maybe being a reason why they didn't win this game, averaging 7.6 points per game, down from 14 last year, so half as much as he previously was. By far the worst of his career. Next lowest was he averaged 12 and a half points as a rookie, way, a million years ago. He's only shooting 32% from the field, 26% on threes. He's 2 for 7 on layups. Um, Not great. So I dropped his overall another 1 point. 2K's got him at a 76. I'm not. It's going to be hard for me to get him there without. I'll go over that in a second. But just going over the ratings. 84 three ball -1. I'm slowly going to bring this down throughout the year. Probably every time I check in on him, I'll probably just knock it down an additional point, at least until he has like a big 3 point explosion that brings his percentage back up. Draw foul, I dropped this down to a 25. He's only taken 4 free throw attempts on the year. Basically, he's useless the inside of the paint. Inside of 15 feet, he's not really shooting the ball well at all. Um, and then I dropped his offensive consistency by 5 more points as well. What I was alluding to with why his rating's not going to go down. He's still one of the best all-time shooters in history, and these badges account for a lot of his value. I'm going to be waiting for a little bit more of a sample before I can really dive in and like decide to drop maybe this one is now a gold, and the golds are now silvers, and the silvers are now bronzes, and the bronzes are now, should be removed or something like that. Um, and that, badges count a lot towards a player's overall rating. If we just head on over, if I just remove all of his badges, what happens? Oops. What? badges account for a lot. So these are all giving him 5 points of overall rating. And if we, let's say, took his Deadeye down a point, slippery down to gold. Yeah, that in itself is worth 1 point just from those two badges alone. All right, moving on. Let's check out the Washington Wizards. They dropped 1-9 with this loss. It was a back-to-back for them. It's their eighth straight loss. All is right with the world. CJ McCollum, 25 points. He's more or less come out of his slump in the last few. Alex Sarr, another solid offensive game, 17 points. Keyshawn George was back in the lineup. Trey Johnson, therefore, stayed with the starters with Bilal Coulibaly still out. Um, no Chris Middleton in this one. It was a back-to-back. Justin Champagnie started. He was scoreless, though, in 12 minutes. So Cam Whitmore got the bulk of the playing time at the four. He had 19 points in 20 minutes off the bench. Going all the way over to the Philadelphia 76ers. They moved 6-3 on the year, 130 to 120, beating the Toronto Raptors in this one. Joel Embiid, 29 points, 10 of 16 from the field, 1 of 4 from three, 8 of 9 from the free throw line. Season high, 26 minutes. Best game of the year for him. It's worth noting that Toronto was extremely undersized in this one. We'll get to them in a couple minutes. But Trendon Watford was the story of the game. He had his first career triple-double and got the start in this one. 20 points, career high, 17 rebounds, 10 assists, also a career high. 8 of 10 from the field, only one turnover in 37 minutes. The Sixers have notably been starting Dominic Barlow and then Jabari Walker, both guys on two-way contracts in the absence of Paul George. So hopefully this is something that sticks for Watford. Obviously, he's a lot better than those guys, and definitely showed out in this one. Again, obviously the Raptors were um, a little bit undersized, but it was also a pretty good matchup for him. I think he matches up well against the types of forwards that they have in their front court, like Barnes, etc. Um, but yeah, I would like to see him stick in the starting lineup moving forward rather than these guys who essentially get the Keith Bogans playing like 12 minutes a game. Tyrese Maxey had 31 points, 7 assists, continuing what he's been doing throughout the season. BJ Edgecombs more or less cooled off offensively since that opening night explosion. He had 11 points on 5 of 15 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. So look for him to probably go down to like an 80, 81 in the coming weeks. Next time we check in on like his shooting ratings, etc. Jared McCain was a DNP-CD. He did not look good in his debut, so I did knock down his intangibles all the way just to get his rating down to a 77. Given that he's not actually the issue with like editing ratings and stuff is like when guys don't play, you can't actually really like lower their ratings and stuff. So like he still basically got his the his ratings are based on his production, which is really good as a rookie. And right now he's hindered physically to the point where he would not be able to replicate what he did as a rookie. So it's like, what do you do at that point? Because you can't really, I can't definitively say if he should be, let's say, an 82 close, an 80 mid range, an 81 3-point shot based off of like one game's performance. It's kind of like I'm kind of like assigning values to him arbitrarily if I'm doing that, because we know that he's worse, but how much worse and the reasons why are a little bit nebulous. So that's ultimately what that intangibles rating is for, is so we can say, okay, this guy's not uh, he's not good enough to be in the rotation right now. Once he's back at full strength, he's going to be back at these ratings and then playing a larger role. And once he's playing that larger role, then we can bring up his overall rating to ensure that he's getting said role. But diving in on, I did make some changes to the Sixers. I did boost uh, Trendon Watford. I did also worth noting. I removed his point guard position from his secondary position. This is kind of like a Nets gimmick. They were obviously shorthanded at point guard last year, but they used him as like a ball handler, and that kind of reflected in his 3 point, not percentage, but 3 point rate. This year, he's actually 4 for 7 on threes, but he's taking half as many as the year before, only 1.9 per 36 minutes. Last year, that was a 3.5. So his rates right now on 3 point attempts are more in line with what he did with Portland in his first 2 seasons. While his 3 point attempts were boosted with the Nets because he was spending more time on the perimeter, and that came at the expense of his rebound rate because he's standing further away from the basket, so he's not putting up. He was still a good rebounder, but he showed more rebounding prowess with Portland because he was spending more time closer to the basket. So he's being utilized more, kind of like a hybrid version of like what he was doing with Portland and what he was doing with Philly, because he's still more ball dominant than he was with Portland, where he was just kind of like a rim rolling uh, big back then. Similar, like a another version of like Montrezl Harrell would be a good ancillary for him. So I got him 78 overall, +1. I boosted his rebound rates to like a +6 for offensive rebound and then +5 for defensive rebound. This basically just brings him in line with his career rates. His rebounding rates last year with the Nets were career lows. So and right now they're at career highs. So, uh, but obviously a small sample for Watford so far. So just bringing it to his career norms, I think, was appropriate. And then +10 to his offensive consistency, +5 to his defensive consistency. Again, like this is kind of bringing him in line with like his career norms. The Nets were kind of a joke lottery team last year, so his stats were, it was like funny farm with some of his numbers. But I thought that he was a really great underrated signing for them, and it's hopefully he's able to make some headway in the rotation while Paul George is still out. And then Joel Embiid, good to see he's not dead. Maybe I was a little fast to like proclaim his demise. Um, I think my main focus was really on getting Maxi rated higher than him because it's clear that he's the top rated player on the team, or top just the best, most talented player on the team right now, given Embiid's physical limitations. So taking away the 4 point dud in the opener for Embiid, he's dropped 20 points in each game, and he's doing it in limited minutes. He's still averaging close to a point per minute and stuff. His field goal percentage has been erratic, but he's getting to the line a fair amount, so he's making up for it there. Obviously, one of the biggest foul grifters in NBA history. But I've got him 88 +1 from where I had it the last time we checked in on him. I just boosted his offensive consistency back to maxing it out to a 99. I dropped this to an 85 before. Defensive consistency, I also raised that by 5 points, as last year, he actually had the worst block rate of his career, only 3.1%. This right now, it's at 5.9%, which is the second highest of his career. Um, for his career is a 4.4%. So I did give him a rating based on the career mark. Um, he's not mobile anymore, but that means he's spending more time defending the actual paint. So um, that was my rationale for raising his block rate, and I did reduce his defensive rebound rate since he's going for these blocks. It's actually taking him out of a rebounding position. Right now, he has a career low 19% block defensive rebound rate, which is essentially like a 73, 74 defensive rebound rating. So starting to trickle that down. It'll probably drop again the next time I touch him. I do feel like I've spent a lot of time on the Philadelphia 76ers compared to other teams, but also like their last 2 seasons have required a lot of change. They were expected to be good last season, and then they were atrocious. And then everyone wrote them off this season, and they're actually essentially doing what they were supposed to do last year. So and obviously VJ Edgecombe has been a big part of that. It's been looking like he's going to be in the running for Rookie of the Year. Just a lot of like, and then a lot of key role players like Adam Adebona has passed up Drummond in the rotation. Watford, this is his like first big exposure. Kelly Oubre's had a bounce back season. Yeah, just really exciting times in Philadelphia for a change. We'll see how much air Paul George lets out of the bag once he returns. Um, in general, also, once I have an edit in for players, it's easier for me to follow up on them. So, because I have a lot of edits in for various 76ers, it makes it easier for me to recheck in on them. I'm going to try to diversify that a little more in the coming days. Sunday is my Friday, so I'll have more time to do some actual editing over the next two. Let's check in with the Toronto Raptors. They moved to 5-5, losing this one back to back for them. So Jakob Pertl sat out with a sore back, and they ended up going with Scotty Barnes at center, Ochai Agbaji joining them in the starting unit. Barnes at center, essentially similar to the rationale for like Colin Murray Boyles at the five, where they had started him like 3 games, I think, um, earlier in the year. Barnes had 18 points in this one. I guess they decided that that was their best option to guard Joel Embiid, given that they didn't have Hurdle for this one, because at that point it's either they're going to have an undersized four regardless, because they don't really have any other actual centers on this roster. So they went with Barnes there. Obviously, he wasn't enough to stop Embiid. Pretty seems like this is a pretty bad matchup for the Raptors. Agbaji in his game start, for what it's worth, had 0 points in 15 minutes. Essentially, the Keith Bogans by definition. Quickly and RJ had 22 each. Ingram 21. Quickly's had back-to-back good games for the Raptors. Hopefully, he's able to keep that going. Going over to the Hawks, they moved to 4-5 on the season in a back-to-back, 122 to 102 over the LA Lakers. A very surprising win, given that half the team sat out of this one. Jalen Johnson, Porzingis, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, all out, and Luke Kennard all out basically for rest in this back to back. Obviously, Trey Young still out of the lineup, but they got some great performances off the bench from, or not off the bench, but joining the starting unit. Mo Gay had a career high, 21 points, also added 7 rebounds, 7 assists. 7 assists probably a career high for him too, although I didn't check. He was 4 for 5 on threes. Oh my God. Uh, all right. Let's at least do that. And Keaton Wallace, 14 points for him, 7 assists, also 4 for 8 on threes. Played 36 minutes. Gay played 34 minutes. Dyson Daniels, another solid start at point guard, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 13 assists. Looking like he might be the long-term option there once they figure out that Trey Young's. You're better off having a no offense, all defense type of player at point guard rather than an all offense, no defense type of player. It's kind of easier to build your team out and just get scoring from other positions. And perimeter defense is really important nowadays, as the OKC Thunder are showcasing nightly. Zachary Risache, 19 points for him. Those two were the only two regular starters in this game. Okongwu joined the starters, had 12 points. But Mason Newell and Vit Krejci had 17 points each. Newell in particular, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 4 steals, played 27 minutes. Very Obi Toppin-esque for him. That was my comp for him coming in. And he's somebody who I think he's only played like this is his second good game in anytime he's gotten an opportunity to play big minutes, he's thrived. So I definitely got to get his rating up a couple of points as well. Krejci, for what it's worth, 17 points, 24 minutes. He hasn't played much so far, just due to the overwhelming depth that the Hawks have had. Nikhil Alexander Walker cutting into a lot of the potential minutes for Krejci, but he performed well, getting some run in this one. And then going over the Lakers, for them to lose in blowout fashion to a shorthanded Hawks team. Obviously, those guys brought a lot of energy, and Luka Doncic not the strongest defensive player in the world. So and the Lakers are of course a little banged up themselves too, still without Austin Reeves. So also they're playing a little bit above their record. I don't know if they're exactly a 7-2 team, um, based on like available talent. Luca Hedlow had 22 points, 11 assists, 27 minutes. DeAndre Ayton, 11 points, only 20 minutes. He was 5 for 5 from the field in this one, so I was a little curious why. Like I was like just searching, like was there an injury or anything? But Jared Vanderbilt had 12 points, 18 rebounds, played 28 minutes. It was his best game in years. So maybe they decided. I was looking through the game log. And I wasn't sure if like so like maybe Vanderbilt played the five as like a small ball five. Um, Based on what I was seeing, I don't think that was actually the case. I think what actually happened is obviously Jackson Hayes. Um, he's the backup for Ayton. He didn't have a crazy game either. Maxi Kleba came back from uh, he'd been sidelined the entire year so far. He has only played like one game for the Lakers like during the playoffs ever since they acquired him, and then he was out again uh, to start this year. So he played in this game. He had 1 point in 14 minutes. Mostly doing that after the game was, I think they kind of threw in the towel in like the third quarter. They got down 20 and were just like, F it. So he played more in the second half. He had 14 minutes in this one, so that maybe accounts for why Aiden only had the 20, despite having like in other words like solid performance. And then just touching in with everybody's favorite meme player, Bronny James had a season high 9 points in this one. Anytime Bronny James has a season high, it probably means not great things for the Lakers. Let's go on over to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Move up to 7-3 with a 128 to 122 win over the Bulls. They move over the Bulls in the standings. They're currently second in the East, but behind Detroit, who are 7-2. Yeah, Cleveland still Cleveland. Uh, Da- Donovan Mitchell, 29 points, hit the go-ahead bucket in this one. Darius Garland sat this one out. So Jalen Tyson got the start, another start. He had 17 points. I got to get his rating maybe a little higher. Probably gonna hold on to his rotation spot even when Max Strus returns from injury in like January, February. And then DeAndre Hunter had 29 points, season high, had a really nice crossover on Josh Giddey, like a true ankle breaker. Giddey was limping after the play, um, like he legit broke his ankles. So good stuff to see out of him. And then Evan Mobley, 24 points, just to round things out for the Cavs. Going over to the Bulls, they dropped to 6-3. It was a back-to-back for them. Isaac Okoro had his revenge season high, 19 points for Okoro on 5 of 7 shooting, 3 of 4 from three. He'd been struggling shooting the ball coming in, so hopefully smooth out his percentages. But the 19 points was also a team high for the Bulls. Anytime Isaac Okoro is leading you in scoring, it is likewise probably not a good thing for your team. Jalen Smith was the top performer. He was a plus 17 in this game. I think the bench came back and like made things close, but he was ridiculously efficient. 18 points, 11 rebounds in only 19 minutes, 6 of 6 from the field, 4 for 4 from three. So we probably got to boost this up just a little bit. And then he essentially made up for the fact that like Modest Buzelis had a really tough game. 4 points on 1 of 6 shooting. He's been up and down all season. Obviously, Defensive Player of the Year, Evan Mobley was his cross match, so we can maybe chalk that up to Mobley's brilliance, but also Buzelis still learning, not a consistent player as of yet. Going over the Heat, they move up to 6-4 on the season. They've been a surprise so far, just doing this without Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo. And there's a back-to-back. They got the win over the Blazers, 136 to 131. Andrew Wiggins still starting at the four as they go with a small ball lineup, even with Bam out, as Khalil Ware moved into the starting lineup. And they've gotten really solid performances off the bench all year. Jaime Jaquez had 14 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists. I got to get his rating up. He's probably the next player on my list to get a player rating but Nikola Jovic had a career high 29 points off the bench to really cement things for that Miami second unit. Drew Smith also 13 points, 6 assists off the bench. He's been really good. I got to get this rating up. Yeah, there's just a lot of role players who are playing pretty, high value minutes for their teams. And yeah, I mean, based on this, Drew Smith probably isn't actually in the rotate. Yeah, yeah. So at the very least, I got to get his rating over Jakasionis. Yeah, things. All right, we're diving in on Miami in the coming days. Going over the Blazers, they dropped to 5-4 with this loss. Denny Avdia, though, has been killing it all year. 33 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. Drew Holiday, much better offensively than was anticipated. 18 points, 9 rebounds, 13 assists, 1 rebound short of a triple-double. And then Shaden Sharp, 21 points for him. Jeremy Grant, 18 points off the bench. He's been solid this year. Probably going to get his rating up as he's been much more efficient than he was last year. Oh my God, look at that. San Antonio Spurs, they moved to 7-2 on the season, back to back for them, but they were able to get it done against the Pelicans, 126 to 119. And the big story for the day was De'Aaron Fox made his return, did so at shooting guard. There was a question of what the Spurs lineup would look like, and we got it answered. Fox, 24 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists on 9 of 14 from the field. Julian Champagnie hit the bench. They basically ran last year's lineup with Castle replacing CP3, essentially a small ball lineup around Victor. Castle, for what it's worth, the reason I definitively say that he was a point guard, aside from the substitution patterns, is he had 14 points and 14 assists in this one versus Fox's 3. Fox was subbing in a sub pattern with Julian Champagnie the entire night. And then also played backup point guard in this one, but anytime he came in, it was Champagnie who was checking in. So I did swap Fox and Champagnie's positions to shooting guard. I basically swapped Fox and Harper. Harper I previously had at the 2, so now I swapped those two guys. And then Champagnie I swapped with Devin Vassell, since Vassell previously was the starting 2 guard. Just so we can ensure this happens. And then Vassell, he was in a sub pattern with like Keldon Johnson the entire game. So I did also get one of my the rating edit that I talk about a lot of rating edits for like players who are drastically underrated in these videos because I haven't had time to like update them. I did sit down and actually do Julian Champagnie because when you switch his position to shooting guard, it drops his overall rating by 2 points. So he was only a 73 after I made that swap. So I absolutely needed to make that change. At his natural position, he would be an 80. 2K only gave him a +1 to a 73 from a 72. He's by far like one of the most underrated players, if not the most underrated player in 2K, and that probably is true right now still, even though they gave him a slight boost. I gave him a +5, which is really a +7 factoring the position change, and that's just because they ignore half of the ratings. As a former two-way player, his ratings are pretty bad. Anytime a player is undrafted, like they're just copy pasting like some random bullshit. They don't actually scout these guys. But like his athleticism ratings, his defensive ratings, a lot of those are just not up to snuff. And he's essentially like the sixth man of this team. Played a really big role for them as well last season. So key rotation player should not have been a 72. It's certainly coming into this year. Uh, given the whole he played like almost 2,000 minutes last year. Why was he a 72? Who knows? But yeah, so that was one of my big changes for this update. Um, Pelicans 2-7. Uh, they they uh, they dropped to 2-7, I should say. Troy Murphy, or say Trey Murphy. Troy Murphy was a former Warrior back in my heyday. Trey Murphy is the Pelican, had a career high 41 points in this one, 15 of 22 from the field, 5 of 11 from 3, 6 for 6 from the free throw line, 1 turnover, 38 minutes. Really solid game. I got to get his rating a little higher than Herb Jones, but as I've mentioned, the overall rating formula for shooting guard is fucked compared to what it is for small forward. Um, just boosting, just changing his position is going to give him a 2 point boost. Yeah, and that's again this mainly because they care too much about the ball handle rating. In general, I need to get my rating in for Trey Murphy. The 64 ball handle is underrated. I had this in 80 last year. He was getting a lot of on ball reps, which is why I also have his position as two guard, as that's essentially what he was legit playing last season, even with Brandon Ingram out. I'm just looking at stuff I need to change on Murphy tomorrow. He's been linked to the Spurs in trade talks before, so I guarantee you he was auditioning. Like, get me out of here. I would love to play with Victor Wembanyama. That's what that was about. Jeremiah Fears, he had 18 points. Maybe he's auditioning for the Spurs. Really, everybody's auditioning for the Spurs. They could play with Victor and get out of New Orleans. Derek Queen had 13 points off the bench. He's been pretty solid uh, since he's gotten healthy. And then Zion, Poole, Misi, they all are still out for the Pelicans. So a little short-handed in this one. Not the greatest. If Trey Murphy doesn't score 40 points a night, they're probably not going to have much of a chance to win. Let's go on over to the Denver Nuggets, who they don't need, they could bench everybody, and Jokic will still find a way. They move up to 7-2 on the year. It was a back-to-back for them against the Indiana Pacers, but they handily defeated them 117 to 100. Gordon and Murray sat this one out for rest. So, fuck it. Let the MVP have some fun against the worst front court in the NBA. And Jokic responded with 32 points, 14 rebounds, 14 assists. Just having fun out there against guys like Jay Huff, Isaiah Jackson, etc. Peyton Watson stepped into the starting lineup for Gordon. He had 16 points. Uh, Jalen Pickett did not do his best Jamal Murray impression, though. 2 points in 18 minutes. Cam Johnson, even though everybody's out, he was still quiet with 12 points. He's really struggling to fit into Michael Porter Jr.'s role with the team. And then Tim Hardaway Jr., he's, if anything, stepped into more of that offensive shooter role. He had 17 points off the bench, five of the Nuggets' eight threes. So if it wasn't for him, things might have gotten a little sketchy against the Pacers. Pacers, for what it's worth, they dropped to 1-8, but they have some really good news. They got Andrew Nemhard back from injury. He missed about like 7 games, I think, with a sprained shoulder. 22 points for him, 6 assists, 7 of 20 from the field, 2 for 10 from three, 6 of 6 from the line, 33 minutes. Not the greatest shooting night, but they will definitely take it. It's a lot better than what they've typically gotten out of the point guard position so far this year. Aaron Nesmith had 25 points, 7 of 10 from the field. Extremely up and down this year. He's very dependent on a point guard to set him up. So having Nemhard back, the two of them combining for 47 points, a little bit of a throwback to this, their Cinderella playoff run that they had. Siakam, for what it's worth, was quiet in this one with only 14 points. Probably had his hands full trying to guard Jokic on the other end. And then Monte Morris, he was recently signed, made his debut with the team, 3 points in 15 minutes. He was the first player off the bench for the Pacers, so that is noteworthy. Obviously, they are extremely short-handed in the backcourt, at least until TJ McConnell gets back. And then let's go on over to the Phoenix Suns, finish off with their game against the Clippers. Again, against the Clippers. They move up to 5-5 on the season. Either the Clippers are making the Suns look good, or the Suns are making the Clippers look really bad. Uh, Suns were finally healthy, but of course couldn't last. Jalen Green re-aggravated his hamstring 7 minutes into the game, which probably means he's going to be out a while. Um, if we look at Cam Thomas' season last year with the Nets, where he played 25 games, like when players are having recurring hamstring injuries, they're going to be in and out of the lineup throughout the year unless you have to like take it really slow. Otherwise, you're going to re-aggravate it. And hopefully it's not like a lost season for Green because this was looking like, I mean, he had 29 in his debut, so it was he was really trying to make he needs to have a career year to really establish himself. So hopefully the injuries don't knock that out for the former number two pick. Dylan Brooks, he returned in this one. Started at power forward in this one. 16 points, 4 of 6 from the field. Is that his all-time mark for efficiency? I guess. But Devin Booker had 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. Mark Williams, solid with 19 points, 7 and 9 from the field. Things, looking pretty up for the Suns. Grayson Allen's been better than this rating would suggest. It's more like an 81-ish. Royce O'Neal's been effective. He filled in with Green not being able to go for a lot. Colin Gillespie had a solid game off the bench as well. So unfortunate that we don't get to see the full strength Suns for a while. They could maybe make some sleeper noise as like a play-in team if everybody stayed healthy. I think that's kind of like the high water mark for them. But 5-5 so far. A lot of people would have expected them to be like 3-7 probably through their first 10. So they are. Obviously, people would have expected them to lose to the Clippers in those two games, but they beat the Clippers, and the Clippers are not looking great. They dropped to a 3-6 record. Kawhi still out with a sprained ankle. They actually have to reactivate Harden as he played in this one, but he was still not great. 13 points, 13 assists, 4 of 15 shooting, and it just kind of exacerbates the Clippers had this issue last year with Kawhi's sideline, where like they really struggled for offense. Last year they had Norm Powell to carry the offensive load, but they traded him and they brought in John Collins and then signed Bradley Beal to take his job. Beal uh, again wasn't really um, an offensive factor, or he's on like a minutes limit, I guess. He only played 20 minutes in this one. He had 12 points, so like this is actually one of his better games. But they're really missing Powell's scoring, or they need a guy who can drop 30 on a given night, because it's not really Zubats. He's anchoring the defense. He was really efficient in this one, 10 of 12 from the field, 21 points, 15 rebounds. But if he's the go-to guy in the years in 1992, there's a problem. Uh, and then James Harden, without like that secondary scorer, he has to do a little too much offensively for what he really should be doing at 36. So yeah, inefficient game for him. Uh, Derek Jones and Chris Dunn, they combined for 60 minutes total and 13 points. Um, so they're yeah, it's a defensive starting lineup, but Dunn started in this one rather than Batum. Um, yeah, they're just not able to put points on the board against even like the Phoenix Suns aren't exactly world beaters on the defensive end. You know what I mean? Worth noting, also Chris Paul was a DNP CD in this one, which we recall he started all 82 games for the San Antonio Spurs last year, so he misses a game uh, here. He has been not quite as effective, shall we say, as he was last year with the Spurs. I don't know if this is just like, he's on his retirement tour. He's just trying to get through the year. Last year, he really wanted to prove something. Now he has like nothing left to prove. So he's just kind of hanging out. But the Clippers haven't really been super effective in Chris Paul's minutes. That's in part due to like just the bench lineups. They don't really have a lot of scoring on this team. So if you're asking him to do more offensively at the age of 40, that's not really going to work out all that great. So yeah, again, Chris Paul did not play in this one. James Harden played 41 minutes, which again probably too much. Um, I think CP probably should have played a little bit in this game. That's my guess. Yeah, that's what I got so far for this Real 2K recap. Keep an eye out for more rating edits in the next 2 days once I'm off from work. Thanks, guys, for watching. Marketing stuff, hit the like button, subscribe, all that jazz. I don't talk about it much, but every little bit helps. We want to get as much eyeballs on this. If you guys want to see more roster related content, we got to make it more popular. So supporting the channel does help in that regard. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for keeping up with me on this season long journey. Peace.